All right, it's 7 o'clock, so I'd like to call the regularly scheduled meeting of council for May 22nd to order. First item on the agenda is introduction of late items, and we have several. They're all for information. Under 7B, Councillor's reports, Councillor Thompson's report. Under 8BK, Spark BC regarding Access Awareness Day. Under 8BL, an email from M. Connolly, Manager of Legislative Services, the City of Prince George, and an invitation to upcoming Community Energy Workshop and Canadian Bioeconomy Conference and Exhibition. And 8BM, which is an email from the Fraser Basin Council, an invitation to the 2018 North Central Clean Air Forum. So can I get a motion to approve the agenda as amended? Thank you. Second? Thank you.
Need that water.
All in favor? Carried. Next is the reading and adoption of minutes. Motion reads that the minutes of the April 24th, 2018 special council meeting be adopted as presented or amended. Can I get a mover and seconder, please? Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. That sounded much better. Any corrections? Okay. Call the question. All in favor as presented? Carried. Next one is the motion reads that the minutes of the April 24th, 2018 regular council meeting be adopted as presented or amended. Thank you. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any corrections? Okay. All in favor as presented? Carried. Delegations and petitions. Can I get the, we got none, sorry. And then questions from the public and press. Can I get the printout? I don't have it. The sign up sheet. Thank you, ma'am. All right, there is none. We have no unfinished business, so we'll move into reports. I only have two things to add to my report. Is one, we have received $75,000 in grants for asset management now, so we'll be moving ahead with that. So I was wondering if the CAD could do a quick report for our next council meeting on how that's going to work.
Sure.
And then another note to mine is I helped set up the library on the weekend. It was great. There had to have been at least 90 volunteers to move it, so it went really well. It was well organized. And we have revenues and expenditure report. Claudia is not here, so did council want to defer any questions until she returns?
I may be able to answer some questions.
Does anybody have a question on that revenue and expenditure report? No? Okay. Let us know what page you're on too, please, Councillor Edwards.
Sorry?
Please let us know what page you're on as well.
Page 19, last item, information technology. We're double what we were last year this time. Do you have any idea what that's for?
CFO Frost has indicated that it's related to web support and some IT technical issues that we had some work done on.
And then professional fees, next page. 6 going down. Is that just the way that the invoices are coming in or something from?
Yeah, that would be from the contracted into the
The
CAO.
contract interview and all that stuff? Okay. So I thought that would be. And then at the bottom of the next page, 3 from the bottom on page 21, BC Hydro Generator. Why does that vary from year to year? Just outages? Is it based on the time of use?
Yeah, the budget is 10,000, same as 2017, but it could just be a timing difference as to invoicing and payment.
That's it.
Great.
Okay. Councilor Green?
On page 20, under CN station expenditures, the capital CN station, is that not covered somewhere else under capital expenditures or is this in addition to our budget?
This, she said, is related to the 150 grant. So there are offsetting there's grant dollars to offset that.
Okay, but we didn't have it in our budget. I thought we had it in our budget, but probably a different line number. Because we had $20,000 put aside for the works, and it could be under capital expenditures.
Yeah, she's probably just needs to reclassify that. That's what she needs to do. I'll
Then
mention that to her.
she'll have to change the budget amount as well, because it shows 0 here, and I think it was 20,000 here.
Yeah, when it gets reclassified to the correct GL for the capital expenditure, that's all that's really required.
Okay.
It will offset that budget then.
Okay. That was my only question.
Page 21, what happened to our Bobcat, just for interest? What did you
The
do?
sweeper, the motor went in the sweeper, so we had to send it up and have it replaced.
Say point grader.
Yeah.
Thank you. And how about the Mac?
Pardon?
And how about the Mac?
The Mac, it didn't have any love for a lot of years, so when we put it in and have it inspected, it had like a broken wheel spindle, bearing issues. It never had a proper engine shut off, so Joe Rich did all the work, got it up to spec, passed inspection, and hopefully good for a long time.
That's all they got is.
Okay. Councilor Thompson, anything?
Not questions on the finance, no, but I have some comments on my report.
Okay. I have no questions on finance, so if you want to go ahead and comment on your report.
I just wanted to highlight from my report a couple of items. One of them was the 55 plus PC Games Give It a Try Day. I want to thank Sharon, and I think there was another Sharon, who worked hard to get a grant and put this 55 plus BC Games event on at the Robson Valley Community Center. We got a chance to play, this is for old people like me, we got to play dryland curling, pickleball, whist, that's very taxing that is, and cribbage. And it was an introduction to some of the activities that take place at the BC 55 plus games being held in Kimberley this year. So if anybody is over 55, we now have a contact person in town who is going to try and get us old people energized to participate in the seniors games. That was fun, so congratulations to Sharon for the work she did on that. I just wanted to comment on the regional district meetings in Prince George and the comment, it's in the newspaper, district directors bulk at expanding recycling services. I just want to elaborate, the last council meeting I brought forward a report that we were considering 3 options at the regional district with regard to increased recycling at the regional transfer stations. And at the last meeting on Thursday, the board unanimously decided to go with status quo and not to sign a contract with Recycle BC. The main reasons for not moving forward were the additional cost that it would cost the taxpayers, quite a substantial amount in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, increased staffing at the transfer stations in McBride, Mackenzie, and Valemount. We would have had to employ another person to watch the recycling coming in, and the risks of contaminated recycled materials is high. And if you send contaminated materials into Recycle BC, you end up losing your benefits or your bonuses, and those bonuses aren't very high in the first place. And the regional district would have lost all the opportunity to market their own recycled products. And that was all at the cost of adding glass, plastic bags, and styrofoam to the system. So we have graciously declined the offer from Recycle BC, and the regional district will continue status quo with their recycling programs all across the district. It just wasn't a good offer, and it was unanimously turned down by the board. So it's not that we're against recycling, we like recycling, but at the risk of causing the taxpayers a whole bunch of money, we still believe that the stewardship programs, when you are able to purchase something that has styrofoam in it, you should be able to return that where you purchased it. And we are pushing to get those stewardship programs all across the regional district rather than us paying more for something we've already paid for. And I would also like to comment on the move of the library and congratulate whoever choreographed that exercise, because it was phenomenal to see books go from where they were to where they're supposed to be in a series of 5 hours, and it was very well done. It was kind of fun, and congratulations to the library. I look forward to the soft opening and the real opening coming soon, so it was good.
And just so you know too, I spoke with a lot of mayors at the NCLGA, and it seems like recycling has become a real big issue straight across northern BC, so I imagine communities are going to start taking matters into their own hands to deal with some of the issues. All right, can I get a motion to receive the reports for information?
I'll move that.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried?
Can I just comment that I will in fact get the report out next time, because I've got tons to report.
Okay. We'll move on to the next page. Number 8, requiring action. We have an email from F. Downey requesting that the BC SPCA's responsible dog ownership video be placed on the village website. The motion reads that council approve the request to post the responsible dog ownership video on the website. So can I get a mover and a seconder on that?
I'll move it, but I want to talk about it.
You want to talk about it?
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, there we go. Discussion. Councilor Edwards.
Has anyone seen the video? I'm not opposed to putting a video up as long as it's appropriate.
I haven't seen the video.
We've just looked through the manual.
And I haven't seen the video. I know there's a link to it, but I haven't had the opportunity to see it.
And my question was, has anyone seen the video? So,
Yeah, I can't vote for something that no one has viewed.
All right. Well, then,
Do we have a motion to postpone?
we could postpone it, or we can fail it on the floor and give direction to administration to view the video and bring it back at the next council meeting if they feel it's appropriate to post on our website. So whichever way council wants to do that, it's fine with me.
It doesn't appear to be a timed item. So I'd make a motion to postpone to the next meeting.
Okay, so do I have to, we've got the motion on the floor, so do we have to vote on that one, or can we just postpone?
You had a mover and a seconder on it, so you have to vote on it.
So we have to vote on it and then do a motion to postpone. Okay, so that's the way we'll do it then. So I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? It fails on the floor. Anybody want their negative vote recorded? No? And then a motion to postpone. We'll have Councillor Thompson, as he brought it up. Can I get a seconder? Thank you. Any discussion on the postponement? Okay, all in favor? Carried. Next item is an email from Dees Slenka, an invitation to meet with stakeholders to discuss progress on the Bell Mountain Trails equine feasibility study. Motion reads that council direct administration to respond to Mr. Slanka's request. Can I get a mover and a seconder on the motion? Sorry, I just want to get that.
I'll move that.
Second,
I'll second it.
discussion? I will be attending. For the record there, Sheila. Any further, Councillor Green?
It's on the same day as the bioenergy conference that's happening in Prince George, and that doesn't end until 4:30. So
Would be tight.
it'd be very tight to attend both, so I don't know if we want to split. I wouldn't be able to go to the daytime meeting anyhow, so I can attend the evening one.
Back to Prince George.
We'll have to deal with that one separately.
Yeah.
Okay, so I can attend this one.
I'll attend this one is Dave Salika as well.
Okay. Councillor Green,
I can attend as well.
attend as well. Councillor Ruby.
I'm checking my schedule. Yeah, I think I'm around.
What's that?
I think I'm around.
You're, okay, so which one?
In the evening.
Okay, so you'll attend this one then. Okay. I'll call the question then on that one. All in favor? Carried. So I guess for the next one, because it's in information only, we'll have to pull it out of information, or do we need a motion to do that, or?
No, we can just bring a motion forward.
Okay, so we'll deal with that one now then, and then we'll do the information only one, so. So for the invitation to the Community Energy Workshop and Canadian Bioeconomy Conference and Exhibition, it's in Prince George. So Councillor Edwards, make a motion for Councillor Edwards to attend.
I'll move that.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any further discussion on that? All in favor? Carried. And now we'll go back to nothing else really in information and outgoing, so we'll move on. Councillor Thompson?
Could I comment on Spark PC Re-Access Awareness Day?
Sure.
Is that in the,
That was one of the add-ons.
that's in the add-on? So I noticed that in paragraph 4 of that letter, there is an opportunity to have a $500 funding available for community municipalities to have a community-based local accessibility event. Should we look into accessing that $500 and highlighting our accessibility? Because we have a number of accessibility improvements, like access to the chamber office.
The library.
There's accessibility improvements being made at the grocery store. And I'm just wondering whether we could compile something and see if we can get $500 to have a date.
Okay, we could refer that to administration to report back.
Yes.
Okay, so on the Spark BC one, we'll make a motion to refer to administration.
I do know that Accessibility Week is the 27th and June 2nd, so that's pretty quick.
Pretty quick. Want to report by email? Okay.
The funding may not be tied to the Accessibility Awareness Day. It would be, it's not tied to that.
Right.
Yeah.
And just one other thing under the same topic. As we paint our parking areas on the street, can we give some thought to locating handicap parking spots at strategic locations on Main Street? I guess I'm through the chair of Public Works. particularly, for example, at the bank. And I don't know for sure, but I know the bank is one where there is no handicap parking spots. I'm just wondering whether there could be some thought put into that by Public Works to, I don't know what the rules are either, so through the chair of Public Works, I guess.
Well, we've been looking into it. The handicap parking spaces are wider, so my plan is to take the two closest parking stalls closest to the Interact machine and make them one, which will be a handicap spot. But right now, there's a lot of other places I'd like to put them, but right now we gotta go with what's in the bylaw for placing them. And the bank is there and out here and the post office. But we gotta look at changing the bylaw to add more and more locations around town, like maybe on the street in front of the hardware, in front of your business, you know, in front of shops on Main. Maybe we should have some, you know, by the main entrance of most of the buildings on, or businesses on Main Street. is what I thought.
Let's not go crazy.
There's only so much parking, you guys.
So I guess following through that, perhaps a request to the administration would be to pull up the bylaw and have a look and see if we can get some handicap spots located.
Your worship, through to Councillor Thompson, we've actually been doing some work on that, and I've researched our bylaw and talked with our building inspector, and we've actually gotten the information from the province in regards to the specs on that, and that's what we're going to be using that information right now to do the painting for the disability parking areas, and so we've actually already done that work.
Perfect.
And I can send you, I can forward that information out to all of council if you like.
I just look forward to seeing the results.
Okay, great.
I need a seconder to refer to administration on the other one though. I only got Councillor Thompson as a mover.
I'll second.
Okay.
I
And then you had,
wanted to speak to the handicap parking one. It's probably a good time to do it before you paint the lines, right?
Yeah, we got the paint ordered for it, we're just waiting for the paint to come in.
any further discussion? Then I'll call the question of the motion to refer to administration. All in favor? Carried. All right, so now we'll move on to bylaws, permits, and policies. First one on page 54 in your agenda is a motion that council receive and report to council on the general local government election bylaw number 779.2018. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please?
So moved.
Thank you, second.
I'll second it.
Thank you. So I'm just gonna check this, I think we have a bunch on that one afterwards. All right, so I'll call the question on this one because we have 4 further motions on moving it, so I'm just gonna do it. There we go. All right, so all in favor of receipt? Carried? And then the next one is a motion that council rescind the general local government election bylaw 656,2005.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. And then a motion that council give first reading to the general local government election bylaw number 779.2018 as presented. Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion? Councilor Green?
Yeah, I think the only thing that's changed in there is the actual article numbers. Those have changed in the updated provincial
That's correct.
act. Okay, I'm just wondering, we have the special places to vote would be the hospital and Beaverview. Are there any others that we should consider at this time if we're rewriting it, or are we happy with those 2 locations? I'm just wondering if the people that are in the low-income housing on the corner of Dominion and Fifth could also participate by going to Beaverview.
I thought they were kind of included in with Beaverview, is my understanding. Is that correct?
To my understanding, there hasn't been any issues in the past when I reviewed the bylaw with Sherry, Sherry and the CFO. But if there's issues that we don't know about,
No, I'm just asking a question, I don't know if that's been considered in the past.
I don't think it's ever really come up. I think they've always just been considered to be part of Beaverview. It applies kind of all under the
Could I
same
just-
banner.
through the worship, having done those special voting a few times, they were just the Beaverview Lodge
Just the
people
Beaverview Lodge, okay.
and just the hospital residents, not the other folks. So they
Okay.
came and voted here or
Okay.
they were voting here.
So, sorry, question.
You still have the floor, Ed?
I'm just wondering, do you know if there's anybody with mobility issues there that would be more easier for them to access through Beaverview, or are they able to?
I don't know that.
Okay, because I know at one time there was one person in there that it's not there any longer.
I think she's passed.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any mobility issues.
Okay, then I guess, I'm just wondering if we should add in that block of units for any person with mobility issues, because there's nobody there right now, but it doesn't mean that there won't be somebody there in the future.
Your worship, through to Councillor Green, just because I'm new, can you just describe that unit?
Okay, it's all in the same block as the hospital and the health center. So there are 10 units. Initially, when
Right.
they were built, the thought process is it would provide accommodations for seniors that are self-contained and able to care for themselves. It has since become a low income because there was quite a few vacancies. So the building is owned by BC Housing. And they manage it and everything, but it's managed independent of Beaverview. So I'm just thinking that there may come a time when somebody has mobility issues that's living there, and it might be something that we could add in, but we need discussion on this, like if anybody else is in agreement or thinks that I'm out to lunch.
Councillor Thompson?
I think we want to be cautious here because there are many residents of McBride who have mobility issues and they get around. I think that if we start highlighting mobility issues for individuals that live in specific housing units, we could be opening a can of worms that we don't want to get into. And I think that we just need to make sure that our community is accessible for all residents to vote. And I would not be in favor of changing the bylaw other than for those residents who live in Beaverview Lodge and Hospital.
Worship, through to Councillor Green, we do have the disability ramp now also, so it does increase the access for voting, for the ability to vote.
Okay, no, that makes good sense.
The other thing that I wanted to bring up, it's been brought up in previous years, is there's no inclusion for people that, where the spouse works out of town and wants to be able to vote, so they have mail-in votes. So is it possible to amend the bylaw to include that? I realize that's more than just amending the bylaw, that's also.
Your worship, I feel that there would need to do a little bit of research on that first and to make sure that that we're meeting all the legislation in regards to mail-in. We do have till July to change up the bylaw, so we do have a little bit of time. We could bring it back in June.
Okay, so would we, because we've got the first 3 readings on the table for tonight, then can we amend
Actually,
after 3rd reading, or would we have to?
Actually, right now, we just have the first reading on the table.
Yes, but
And
we've got the
so we
2nd and
could-
3rd right after that.
Yeah, so I would say we should, if that's desire of council, I think that we need to make a motion as to whether or not we're going to have staff look into that. So it's all of council is participating in that, and then go from there.
Okay. Council, have any comments on mail-in ballots? I know it's been brought up, but it seems to be a little bit more prevalent nowadays than what it used to be. And it gives people the opportunity that are out of town that want to vote, the ability to vote without actually physically, because otherwise you have to be physically present on those days. And I know with my mother-in-law, she was in Prince George in a hospital and she was unable to vote, and that really upset her because she couldn't even get a mail-in ballot. So, Councillor Green?
Okay, right now for people that go in and they register and they vote at the same time, they have to provide documentation of proof as to who they are and if the names and what their local residence is. What validation type of process would be done for the mail-in ballots? I'm not familiar with that process.
There is a whole process, I know that, that's why staff would have to look into it and bring that forward as to how that would be handled. The question would be, is do we want to go to include that in this bylaw, pending administration bringing that information back. I know there's a whole bunch of legislation on it, but it is something with a changing community that has been mentioned before.
So shift through to Councillor Green, or, sorry, Your Worship.
That's good.
Because registration is only, we don't have a voting list.
Yes.
So that would be the issue in regards to mail-in, because we don't have a pre-established voting list. So as Councillor Green has mentioned, registration as an elector is on that same day. So I imagine there would be a lengthy process for someone to be able to mail in their vote, and would probably require an affidavit of some type. So, but we would have to look into that further. So it would just delay the continue giving the bylaw its first, second, or third reading.
Councillor Ruby, did you have your hand up?
Thank you. What are the pre-events, the events?
We only
Remind me
have
when they
one.
are.
We have one advanced voting day,
Okay.
and that's on the 10th day before the general voting day.
No, the problem is if you're out of town, like at a camp job or something like that.
I was thinking they'd come back, but 10 days is not a big.
If you're out for 28.
Do we know how many people in the by-election that maybe got affected?
No, it's just been something that's been brought forward before with voting, not just necessarily just this one, but like a referendum when the Library Museum and stuff like that. There were a lot of people that commented that they were out of town and would have liked to have voted and weren't able to do so because we didn't have it in our bylaws to facilitate that. And so I'm bringing it up as to, does council want to include it now? Because if we're amending the bylaw, now's the time to do it.
Your Worship, I would maybe consider if this is a large, clear priority of council at this time. Staff has, limited resources and other priorities at this time also.
Okay, fair enough. Councillor Thompson, I saw you had your hand up.
So I'm just for clarification, we currently have a motion for first reading on the table.
Yes.
Is that correct? And we have many questions about whether voting, mail-in process is a big job or a little job. So I'm suggesting that we could pass first reading and then not do second and third, but ask administration to report back at the next meeting on what the process would be.
And how onerous it would be on staff to facilitate that process.
And then you can have a better informed decision of whether we're making something that's too big.
Yeah. I agree with that. Council, any other?
Sorry, go ahead. We can do the research. Regardless, we're gonna bring back the same amount of information, whether we change the bylaw or not. We have to do the research.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that can be done.
Councillor Green?
So, just order process here, so we can do the first and second reading. If we do the third reading and we decide to make changes for the mail-in vote, then we can rescind the third reading and then do the third reading on the changes. If we choose not to go ahead with the mail-in because it's too onerous to administer, then our third reading is complete and we can go to our fourth. Is that?
I would suggest that we just do the first reading. We can still do the second and third reading at the next, at the next council meeting. And that way we're not having to rescind. And then we can adopt it by the end of June anyways. So just kind of slows things down a little bit until we do the research.
So we would vote on the one as presented, and then do a secondary motion to bring it back to.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that okay with council? Okay. So I'll call the question on the motion on the floor to give first reading as presented. All in favor? Carried. We'll strike the next two. And then motion to direct administration to review the mail-in ballot system. Procedure, sorry. And bring back to council at your earliest convenience.
I think it would have to be at the next meeting. So
Okay, it has to
I'll
be the next
indicate
meeting.
that,
Okay,
so that
so-
we have the bylaw adopted in time to meet the legislation for
Okay, so
under the local government act.
we'll bring it back to the next meeting. And I'll move right a second on that.
I'll do that.
Thank you. Second.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any further discussion on that? All in favor? Carried. All right, so we'll move on to new business. The first one is the motion that council receive the report on Roland's Machinery 2020 Freightliner chassis and haul all packer.
I'll move that.
Thank you. Second.
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. And a motion that council approve the upgrades to the 2020 Freightliner chassis and 18 cubic yard haul all RH stand-up cab for automated cart tipper arm, remote rear view camera, and cabinet mounted strobe light for additional cost of $14,045 plus applicable taxes.
I'll move that.
Second.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Oh, sorry, did you have your hand up to
I
discuss?
had a question, a
Okay.
discussion question.
Okay.
Through the chair, will administration and public works be coming back to council with an implementation plan for the garbage cans that this cart tipper arm will be using?
Your worship, through the Councillor Thompson, at a later time, the bins would have to be part of our budget, so it would be definitely part of, we'd be coming back to council first of all for that budget item first for the bins and if the community was paying for that or council. And then as we proceeded with that and distributed the bins, there would definitely be an implementation plan and some education for the community.
So probably not till the 2019
Yeah.
budget year?
Yes, this enables us to be able to implement it at some point down the road. Right now, the bins are not part of the 2018 budget. That's why we're asking for this addition to what was already approved in the 5-year capital plan for the addition of the automated cart tipper arm and remote, that 12.5, so, down the road, that can be, it's a very efficient way for garbage collection for a small community. You only need one operator, allows the other operator, the other, workload that Public Works might have. You have an additional person to take care of that then, and it has a lot of benefits, so yeah, definitely down the road.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Carried. Next one is a report to council on the Economic Development Project Concepts, the Rural Dividend Special Circumstances Fund. Motion reads that council will receive the report to council, Rural Dividend Special Circumstances Fund remaining balance. Can I get a mover and a seconder on that?
I'll move to receipt.
Okay, thank you. Second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. I'll call the question on this and then we'll do discussion under the next motion. So all in favor of receiving the report? Carried. And then the next one is a motion that council provide direction concerning the spending of the balance of the funds remaining $12,400 from the Rural Dividend Special Circumstances Grant. A mover and a seconder on that. Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion?
It's possible to get a Reader's Digest from the Sharon Dubay, and that's her thoughts.
Through your worship. So we looked at a number of alternatives that we thought would be the best bang for our buck, if you would, around economic development and supporting local business. Superhost training came up in our business walk consistently among local businesses who said that they found that frontline cashiers and frontline workers who are greeting, often their first point of contact for tourists, were sort of uneducated about opportunities in McBride for tourists, be they go to the visitor center to see what's happening around McBride, or where can you eat, or where can you stay, that kind of thing. And the Superhost training is a program called Foundations of Service Quality that is geared towards frontline retail staff and people that work at gas stations and places like that. This is something that happens at the visitor center, but I think if we could train up a significant number of our frontline staff, it's a win-win in some ways. One, those people will get some certification, which is great for their resumes. Secondly, the retail service industry business owners will see, I think, the tourists perhaps spend more time in McBride and they would benefit from that. And third, the tourists themselves will benefit because they will be keen to, they will learn more about the community through these frontline workers and will be more likely to stick around and spend some of their money and spend some of their time in the community. I had a conversation today with the Superhost trainer in Prince George, and he said he could cater this program to McBride. So we would be able to forward to him a list of issues and concerns and highlights of the community and all sorts of information. He would do his best to cater the program itself, which I thought was extra beneficial for folks. He said ideally he would have 2 separate days of training, not one after the other, just for exam purposes, but space them out a little bit, and we would be able to canvass local businesses to see what days worked. And we wanted to have 2 days for sure, because we wanted to make sure that, you know, a gas station can't release all its staff on one day. So we could sort of have staggered dates to help businesses be able to get as many of their staff trained up as possible. And it's a full day of training. So that was one idea. The entrance signage, of course, was another. That's something we might consider on a couple different levels. Certainly, you know, adding the signs to the buildings, to our welcome sign on both sides. We can highlight our Sled Town Showdown Championship, and we can highlight our new trademark with the ancient forest, gateway to the ancient forest. So I think there's some really great concepts that come from there. And the prices on here are pretty accurate. Around signage, I've been talking to a couple different sign folks, as well as Matthew Wheeler, who's helping along with the concept. We're also looking at mesh banners as well that could be maybe hung on the outside of the sign, and then of course another option would be to look at redeveloping the entire sign, which of course would cost more. A pop-up display is another one. You see at trade shows some very clever and attractive display units that would highlight a community, and my thought around this would be a couple different things. One is we have a small pop-up that was given to us that's about 6 feet tall and about 3 feet wide, and we can have that one, just the vinyl cover replaced, so that would be something very simple and would cost $1,000 or less. Or we could spend a little more and get a larger pop-up unit, or even complimentary a brochure rack or a TV stand with a video screen that we could show highlights of the community. If we were at trade shows or open houses, or lend it out to say, or rent it out to different groups with their own graphics that they could pop up on there, say for snowmobile shows or other things like that. So there's things we could do with this pop-up display that would be a great promotional option for the community, I think. So those are the main alternatives that we looked at that we thought would be a great way to use some of this money. Of course, we wanted to open it up to council to see if they had any ideas as well.
Okay. Councillor Green?
Yeah, just a couple of comments. I like the idea of the McBride Sled-Town Championship type of sign, but I'd rather see banners alternated with the RVR banners. I think you get more content out there, and I don't know, we don't put them up in the winter, that's the only downside with that. But I wouldn't mind seeing some banners. The other thing is, I'm wondering, a lot of our businesses don't have websites, and I'm wondering if we could maybe put some money towards hiring somebody to work with individual businesses to help them establish their websites, show them how to do it so that they can continue the maintenance on their own.
If I may, there is a new community futures workshop coming up in June 7th, I think, 6th or 7th in McBride, and it's focused on web content development. So that is an opportunity for businesses. Of course, the challenge for businesses is the timing of these events.
Yeah.
Often they conflict with their work hours, right? It's very difficult to meet all the needs of business owners, but that's a great idea.
And I'm just thinking as a one-on-one,
Yeah.
because like you say, if somebody can't attend the workshop, they sort of get left behind. And it's kind of nice if we had somebody that might be able to spend a couple of hours or 4 hours with multiple businesses and help them through that process. It's just a thought. I don't know what it would cost, but.
Thompson?
Through the chair, Karen, I think you've got some great ideas here. I think that the superhost training is a good one if you can get people out. I mean, we've tried a number of things, and it's really hard to get the staff out because they're working. With regard to the entrance signage, I would support the mesh banners installed hanging below the train. I think that would be more dramatic. So not that picture, but the one other one. Trade show items are always obviously good if you're going to trade shows. And another option I think we could consider is the entrance signs east and west of McBride, the welcome to McBride signs. And is there a way to incorporate our achievements with Sled Town and our Gateway to the Ancient Forest into those large signs at the pillars? Don't know the cost, just giving you.
Okay, so we have a lot of ideas and not a lot of direction as to which way we want to go with the job board. What are our timelines?
I believe we have to have this money spent by June 30th.
That's correct. That's correct, okay. I do have a question for Public Works, and on the one it talks about the signs hanging below and sight lines and stuff like that. And has Public Works had the opportunity to see these and see if it's safety-wise it's doable?
I would like the idea of metal signs pancaked together on each end of the train for safety and easy to mount. If we go dangling anything off of that, then we're gonna have to weld on brackets and stuff like that. And any welding that we do lots of welding on our own, but something like that, we had to hire a certified welder because of risk to the public. So like we weld up lots of stuff in our yard and stuff, but something like that, so cost will be up there.
Cost would be higher, okay. And what about those types of signs handling major wind events?
I think if we went with the metal signs on each end of the train, I think it definitely handle the wind. It's 12 by 12 12-inch by 12-inch steel beam, you know, for the sides, pretty strong, it barely moves in the wind right now. So anything I think we add to it, I think it would easily support it.
So, I have in my office, my other job, I have these books on signs and wind loading, so it could address that issue and talk about what we need to consider for wind loading.
All right, lots of questions. Councillor Ruby?
I think that we could consider, the Chamber of Commerce is going to discuss the entrance signs on both ends, and in fact, they need upgraded as well. Perhaps we should, I can't remember where we left off. They were discussing, I can't remember where we left off with the Chamber, sorry. But those signs are really actually in bad need of some upgrading, so they're going to use that money. Community promotion.
You want to say something? I can tell.
If I may.
Yes.
Just working with Karen on this with the different ideas, you know, I could just maybe provide some direction or ideas. I think having something over the town entrance sign is a good idea, plus complement it with signage at both ends of town, and if we could work with the chamber on that to leverage those funds, that would be, you know, an added bonus and fulfill a couple of goals for economic development wise too. And then we could look into cost for that and come back to council, work with the chamber, come back to council at the next meeting, and I'm sure still have time to fulfill our grant requirements and deadlines.
Councillor Edwards, you have your hands up?
Yeah, I like these three ideas that are proposed. If we do the Superhost training and we do the signs for $1,500, and on that I like the idea of bolting them together back to back, because I think that anything dangling you're asking for trouble in the wind. And then we've still got some money left in that account, and I agree with the CAO that would be that we would need to, those signs at the turnouts would probably spend, you could probably spend all of this on it, but these are costed out. And so I think that I would like to see these things go ahead, but I think that we should try to figure out what those costs are to redo those signs, because they need to be, they need a lot of work. It's not going to be cheap and quick to do those, I don't think.
Are you talking the two signs now?
The signs and the turnouts, yeah.
Okay.
And so I'd like to get some cost back on that and see where we're at with it.
Just, your worship, through to Councillor Edwards, would that be also including our snow sled championship and our new gateway to the ancient forest trademark?
Yeah, just like the one picture where they're just on the sign.
I actually really like the Superhost program. I know that's been mentioned over and over and over again. I was thinking we do that and then give some money to the businesses to make sure their staff attend, but I don't know if that's available through a grant. I also like the signs on each side of the train on Main Street, and even the pop-up display, because I think that would have value in it. So I'm almost willing to put it back to administration and say, okay, we all agree with this now, what can we do with it? And I do agree the pull-out signs could use some updating as well. So I'm in favor of all of it, basically. So what's council's wishes here? Do we want to, because we have, oh sorry, Councillor Edwards?
Through the mayor, Councillor Green, have you looked at these, at those turnout signs with your signage committee?
The only recommendations that they made were to remove the multiple websites, have it at one, and then provide links to the other sites through the main one. So McBride.ca should be the main one. And then to utilize the lower space to put up small banners to advertise upcoming events or existing events. So for farmers or community market, pioneer days, any logger sports, anything that's going to be specific, or winter festival. So that was their recommendations for that. And then with the signs that we call our gateway signs, the ones that show the services 2 kilometers ahead, the design's being modified a little bit to add in gateway to ancient forest on the westbound. And I can't remember what we did for the eastbound, but it was welcome, something Robson Valley. It was Robson Valley region for the eastbound, and then it was gateway to the ancient forest for the westbound. So we will be advertising on that, so those are going to be modified.
Just to follow up, if I might, just, I'm interested at the cost, because when I see those signs, because when I come to town, I come by one of them, and when you just hearing your discussion here, it seems like we need more space, or we need a better opportunity to convey information to the people that are coming in the areas. I know when you're traveling in Alberta, sometimes as you're approaching a town, you've got you have pretty good sized signs that say, you know, at 0.5 kilometer there's this, and 0.1, 0.5 there's another sign, and there's quite a bit of prep as you approach the town. And from here, coming from Prince George side, there's that one out there by the rock pit at mile 48. There's that one sign there, and then there will be the sign that you're talking about.
Yeah, well, it sort of exists already, it's just going to be modified to add in some additional information, change a couple of the symbols. And the one that's down out by Walker Quarry there,
Yeah.
then there's also one out by Dawson Creek.
Yeah, this way, yeah.
Yeah, but they're up by permit. And it was a very special, and there's the village's signs, and they're supposed to be maintained by the village. So if they collapse and fall over, it's the province. So it's too bad, it's so sad, it's part of their permits to take care of them.
Okay.
Well, where I'm going with this eventually is to say that this is either not enough money, or so I think one of the things we need to know is how can we improve the signage, and you've already done some, and Councilor Green's already done some work on that. But if we do the superhost and some of the other things, we're going to put it down that 12.4. And there won't be anything substantial we can do to those, even the signs of the pullouts, because I'm just thinking there's a need for more signage, and that's as far as my thinking has got. So I'll just stop there.
Okay, Councilor Green.
Okay, so going back to the ones that are out at Walker Forest, or Walker Quarry, and the one that's at Dawson Creek, did we want to update them, because it's got the town on track, so many, half an hour away or 45 minutes away.
Signs.
Yeah, did we want to put a new one like McBride Sled Town Champion 45 minutes away? Promote that, or have a couple different signs so that we can put that one up for the winter, or partway, 6 months, and the other is have gateway to the ancient forest for the other 6 months, or yeah, I mean, there's options that we can do for these signs. Different faces can go out and paint the post.
Okay. A lot of ideas. All right, Councilor Thompson.
So it seems to me that we've given Karen and administration a lot of ideas to take away and bring back to the next meeting.
Pretty much, yeah. I don't think you've gotten one solid yea or nay.
I think we like all the ideas.
Yeah.
It's just that we're gonna.
Are we gonna have enough money to do all of them? So maybe you can get.
Yeah, I think the feedback is excellent. I think that's what we're looking for. And we want to leverage these dollars as best as we can for the community as a whole. So thanks for your feedback, and we'll definitely bring something,
We'll bring it back.
a plan back to council with a few options.
All right, so we do have a motion on the floor, that council provide direction. So what do we do if our direction is to refer now? Do we have to vote on that?
Well, I think we did have a lot of direction.
I think that's
Is
what
that
we
good enough
just-
for direction? And
Yeah, I think it's fine.
Okay.
I think we can
so
just,
you'll bring it back?
we'll add a little bit of information to that motion.
Okay.
That's
Right.
fine.
All right, so do we need to vote on an amendment then, or just leave it and, yeah.
Sorry, just a minute here.
10B, just before going in camera?
Yeah, why don't we just
I'll move that
tag
we,
on there?
I'll move that we amend the motion on the floor to say, to request that the admin look at the ideas brought forward in, what's this today? The
22nd.
May 21st meeting. 22nd meeting.
Yeah, as long as not till second week in June, is that gonna be too late?
Cutting her kind of close if the June 30th is the deadline, but yeah, we could do it if administration comes up with this is what they think is best, and we can say yea or nay at that next meeting, then we should move within the timelines. Right?
So I think if we're working directly with the companies that are doing the signage,
We can do this.
yeah, exactly, we can do.
So the amendment is to have administration look at feedback and report back to council. Is that what you've got? Okay. And we have Councillor Thompson, or sorry, Councillor Edwards moving that. Can I get a seconder on that, on the amendment? Thank you. Any further discussion on the amendment? Okay, all in favor of the amendment? Carried. And then the main motion as amended, all in favor? Carried. And I think that's it, so. Next one is a motion that in accordance with section 91C, labor relations or other employee relations, and I, the receipt of advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, and L, discussions with municipal officers, employees respecting municipal objectives, measures, progress reports for the purpose of preparing an annual report under section 98, annual municipal report, and K, negotiations that and related discussions respecting the proposed provision of municipal service that are at their preliminary stages, and that in the view of council could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality if they were held in public. Council moved to a closed in-camera meeting.
I can make that, if you could just strike L.
Strike L.
Yeah. We will defer that to, we're deferring that to the next meeting,
Okay.
or we'll be here till midnight.
Okay. L, all right. So move her to seconder, please.
Move that.
Thank you. Second.
Also,
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. And then a motion that council, that the open meeting be recessed at 8:03 PM in order to conduct the closed in-camera meeting. A mover and a seconder, please.
Move.
Second. All in favor? Carried. Thank you everyone for coming up. Thank you.